Tool, Fear Inoculum. Alright. Finally. Alright. The fifth, long awaited, 13 years, or at least since the last record. Now, anyone who caught my 10,000 Days review knows where my thoughts are on this and what my expectations are to be. Yes and no to that answer is what this album is. I mostly decided to wait because I wanted to get the physical copy just to see the difference. And also the artwork is awesome. As Tool usually tends to at least be able to pull that out too. Besides with the music, though. It seems with this one it's even more interesting. I mean, look at this bad boy. I mean, that's that. Yeah, this is your title. And did you look at that? Did you look at that? And then hold on, let's put that down. Let's recode it. Oh, there's a code. See? Oh. Don't know if you can hear it, but yeah. You might be able to a little bit, but yeah. Crazy shit. Crazy shit. Lyric sheet, CD case, which apparently stays on unless you use the other one that holds the CD case. Which, really nice there too. Also digital code, even though I'm not entirely sure I'm going to actually use it because, well, I might, but I don't know, because given what I did get a chance to hear from the digital release for like 3 times I've listened to it, yeah, that extra 7 minutes is merely just to please whatever number 7 thing was happening inside Jones's head upon idealistically this release. And the way that the album recording has come about is not exactly the way that I think they initially were expecting it to be. There's been a lot of things that have happened since everyone else has done their thing before I ever did with this record, or this album in particular, since it's come out literally about a week or so ago. We're still kind of reeling from it, plus there hasn't really been a whole lot music that I hear of that is actually worthwhile that come out this week anyway. So not to mention a certain album that came out this same time frame here. Oh, also more artwork. There. And guess what? Unlike previous physical releases, we get lyrics. We get lyrics. At least of the obvious song tracks, the 6 of the 7 chosen. Yeah, and Chocolate Chip Trip, in title it sounds like a puss. I'm gonna be honest. In title it sounds like a Pussifer thing, even though what you get is technically something the band has kind of left on their Saliva EP. I think something Macabre, I believe, which was another drum solo thing Danny Carey was doing. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm guessing this has, despite what some people say about the synths, it works. At least probably more in benefit to Danny Carey for going off of it as if it were a click track, I guess. Because that's what the synth comes across as, to more like just an odd time click track of some sort for whatever amusement of Danny can go off of musically. specifically for his drum solo. And you've probably seen that artwork beforehand. Might have missed the. Hold on. I think I might have missed the one with. No, I didn't. We get, I believe it's Chancellor. Right here. Yes. It's Chancellor. And then we got. As I mentioned, Danny Carey. Yes, I pulled a Harry Carey when we're talking about Danny Carey. Figured that shit. Maynard himself. Yes. And, of course, Adam Jones. Yeah. Creepy Hindu priest looking thing. Again. I always have a thing for eyes, I tell you. It says there's a bonus thing. Track that I know that wasn't on here earlier that was referred to as where's your card again? I can't remember. It said something about a certain track name, but I'm not sure. This is Recussant ad infinitum, which I guess is an extra bonus track thing. That's not the stuff you get off the digital release. And follow up with that, and yeah, bookends. Well, at least they bookended a little bit better here and there, but this, for the most part, this is, I'm gonna say, this is a diet lateralis. Yeah. Via the way of Bressy doing his thing, essentially, for this band. And it's, I mean, I can tell the band is, I don't think the band has anything else they can offer us anymore. New ideas, that is. Unless it's ideas that were kind of seemingly scrapped through, like, Salival, like I said, with the Chocolate Chip Trip thing, they were doing the drum solo thing, which, of all the segues that were involved in the recording of this, it was definitely the highlight of this entire thing. Weird as it may be, it's not as weird as everyone else made it out to be, especially in comparison to the track they used for the digital release in Mockingbeat, which just feels pointless. And just part of this extra 7 minutes, just a 7. And given it's 13 years. Also, speaking of that, album cycle math. Undertow to Anima, 3 years. Anima to Lateralis, 5 years. And then, of course, Lateralis to 10,000 Days. Also, apparently 5 years. Thought it was shorter. Or maybe longer? If it was, it would have been made that more disappointing, actually. But anyways, 3 plus 5 plus 5 equals 13. Equals 13. The amount of years we had to wait for this one, going into, ironically, from 10,000 Days up to this point with Fear Inoculum. Now, I'm just going to say it right now. Don't even bother the digital release. And if you do, through whatever means, just take out the fluff 7 minutes and just stick with what they give you on the physical release. Unless there's this one additional track they're talking about, which I guess maybe comes with this one MP3 download thing. I'm guessing it has something to do with RCA or something. Be compatible with any portable iOS user. Please download. I'm not an iOS user. That's what's gay about this, apparently. Son of a bitch. Sorry, I was looking at the code thing that they gave you. But yeah, it's nice to have this. I had to wait to get this one because it's $50. $50. And you get less tracks. So to be fair, like I said, you get a lot more bang for your buck, especially with that nice little thing you get. Hell, I think it comes with the charger, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like it comes with the charger. And let me see if I can get that thing out of there. Because you get a charger port, so you charge this thing up. in case it runs out of battery life and all that stuff. So, fun. Plus I've got all the other physical albums. It seems stupid for me not to. Yeah. And you don't get as much as the other songs, but given what they give you, the digital releases are the weakest thing about it. Those extra bonuses that don't come with the other 7 tracks. Hell, Blink-182's Neighborhoods Deluxe Edition feels more like a more whole album with the stuff they put on there, or at least for the most part, aside from the final 3 tracks that are bonus tracks. It's more so than this thing. Speaking of that, that band's going to disappoint us later with their release, and somehow I think they've affected A Day to Remember in the process, besides Fueled by Ramen themselves. Ugh. Also, it's a good thing since then, Tools apparently was projected and successfully not dethroned Taylor Swift's off the number 1 spot for Billboard. Not like it Billboard matters as much, but we'll take what wins we can get. You know? Hell, the newer generation's like, who the fuck's Tool? I want to slap them the fucking straight silly. Straight fucking silly. Even though, yeah, some of those people that I know within that I've enjoyed or been saying this and that, I like this album. After a couple, my first listen with just through the digital, yeah, I could tell this was like what I had to deal with the last record as a grower. The difference is, the band already told us that before in the press releasings leading up to this record, once it was officially legit. Hell, even before they made sure it was officially legit by releasing the opening title track. And then, of course, the other 2 tracks that are on here, Descending and Invincible, which were, honestly, Descending has warmed up on me a lot more. Invincible kind of has. It's the second heavier track on this album. And the one that really, I think, lyrically does work if you're reading lyrics along with listening to it more so. And, of course, given the context of it, building, and the entire album itself is a build-up in and of itself, with the final track being supposedly the payoff, even though the track itself is a continuous build-up in and of itself. To the point where some people, like, there is some Meshuggah-ish thing to it, but I wouldn't say it's a gent necessarily. Thank God. Yes. And it's probably the most heavy in that almost undertow-ish with that 10,000 Days-ish production that seems to still be present without most of this, but you can tell it's mostly a Die Lateralis that just seems far more self-indulgent. As I'll be honest, my first thing. That's what it was. But like I said, it repeated listens, and as it kept going, I got a thumbs up. And hopefully, by the end of this year, I could truly say that this album will rock. No doubt about it. I mean, and Calling Voice is definitely one of the better tracks on here, though not too much to the lyrical content, as it seems to be compared to previous tracks. I mean, Fear Inoculum. Inoculum is something involving a wine taste, a certain thing used to help with wine. For wine tasting, of course, ironic given the fact that Maynard himself owns a winery and has kind of been involved in doing a lot of that, as opposed to having been involved in. But well, between that and what he's been doing with both Percifer, mostly A Perfect Circle, and what we've got within the past couple of years between A Perfect Circle and this, which is also kind of ironic, since around the time of Lateralis, we had the first A Perfect Circle album, and then with Lateralis following that up, and that time frame, that period of both bands, is like, to me, the peak of that band. Sure, 13, you have 13th Step, and that one's more of a grower, but not in a bad way, in comparison to 10,000 Days. Which, I mean, heck, the 10,000 Days thing, lyrically, is probably the best thing about it. Sonically is whatever. I mean, that's mostly what it is, and just dealing with fear itself and that kind of push we need to deal with it. And the follow-up track, I'll be honest, Pneuma, we are spirit bound to this flesh, we go around 1 foot nailed down, but bound to reach out and beyond this flesh become, I'm not entirely sure what Pneuma, I should research this to be honest. We are will and wonder, bound to recall, remember. We are born of one breath, one word. We are all one spark, sun becoming. It's almost as if kind of referentiating a sense of certain Buddhism, or at least a certain sense of the Holy, I guess, the concept that we kind of took in mind for like what is the Holy Trinity, I guess, and just how we are this, all just this part of this one entity that is God, you know, or this all-powerful being, I guess, in some ways. Invincible just seems to be more just them kind of, or Maynard just really going off of just this idea of having once been invincible and an unstoppable force, which Tool has been, but seems that they are not, or to an extent, but seems they haven't been. As they've basically referenced in, and also with Pneuma, there are a couple things about it, especially more so the fact that there's some similarities in some of the riffs, slightly to that of certain tracks off of Lateralis, in that of Schism, and even more so the heavier moment, which is very similar to the Patient. Even though I kind of want to give the riffs here more credit and more hard-hitting than what, and worth coming back to in comparison to the way the riffs come off on the Patient. And I like Lateralis, and that should at least speak volumes in a good way. Descending is probably, which was the one thing they've teased consistently, or at least through that Tool archive, which was the only thing we had Tool related through YouTube up until they finally made themselves into streaming service. And that song, it does have a certain vibe to it that works kind of more and reminiscent to the Parabol section of Parabola, I guess, in a way, in terms of that sort of ethereal essence and soundscaping of atmospherics. Even the build-up does kind of go into that regard. But Calling Voices is more interesting. Calling Voices, disembodied voices, deepen my suspicious tendencies. Hearing conversations we've never heard. Imagined interplay, psychopathy, don't you dare point that at me. More so, I guess, this certain sense of just this idea of psychopathy in, like, even through churches and all these other things, and then of course like I said, and then after Calling Voices we have the Chocolate Chip Trip thing, then of course Tempest, or Semp with a 7, being probably one of the heavier songs and very reminiscent of more Undertow-ish type riffing to a degree, and which you've heard earlier, I guess you should say. Calm before the torrent comes, calm before the tempest comes to rain all over. The band, it seems like Maynard's vocals have been a little more reserved, and if you want more of Maynard's roar, more and bite, which Tempest does have, and it works better within reading the lyrics and within the context of the album, as that's a track that you've been leading to and wanting to, given the lulled sense of false security up until that point. And overall, like I said, with this album, I've went from this to this, and even more so now within the past couple listens of having the physical copy. It's getting there. It's getting there. I can say that at least I'm satisfied in the sense that this, I can say for sure now, is a much better album than 10,000 Days. And that's all I can ask for. I don't know if I could say Undertow beats it or not at this point. I am here nor there. But other than that, it's a solid album. I'm glad I got this thing. I'm glad I got it this way I did. It's worth kind of worth the $50. So what did you guys think of this album? Leave a comment below. Let me know. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video, whatever that may be. Take care, y'all.